So the coronavirus has shifted the way we work and the way we live. One relationship reality that's becoming more common, especially since quarantine, is living with your ex. There's even been a popular web series about it.
So what you need $1,000 for?
Oh, I just need to pay the rent. You know, I live with my ex and I just need to give her the rest of my half before the end of the day.
Yo, ex.
Yeah, we stay together till the lease up.
Y'all sleep in the same bed?
Yeah, we do, but we don't cuddle or kiss or nothing like I promise. I don't even look at her like that. I mean, she thick, but I don't be looking at her like
Yeah, so
Okay.
sharing your space with your ex can get tricky. So we invited marriage counselor and sex therapist Dr. Lexx Brown-James to give us advice on how to make it all work. Good morning to you, Doc. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Good morning.
Hey, I didn't know this was a thing, that you've come across couples who have actually ended the relationship and are like, you know what, we can make this work in our tiny apartment of New York City and actually still live together.
It is. We do see it with couples who don't necessarily have the financial means to go and find a new apartment, especially in New York. That can be so difficult while we're quarantining. We also see it a lot with families who don't necessarily want to change the family home all of a sudden for the people who are living in it. And it might just not be as easy to financially separate. And of course, with quarantine, people are safer in the biodomes that they know.
Yeah.
So how healthy, or I guess more important, how dangerous is that both for mental health and physical health if you're in an environment with someone that you don't get along with?
So that is the key, right? So if there's any type of abusive behaviors, whether that's physical, emotional, psychological, then it can become dangerous because there won't be clear boundaries. There can still be controlling behaviors. There can also still be expectations of couplehood, despite the fact that you've ended your couplehood. So if you're going to do this, if you're going to have to stay in the same place with your ex, you have to put in these boundaries. You have to define what respect looks like. You have to say, well, this is my life and this is my life and we're individual. And what does respect mean to you? Does that mean we can have people over? Does that mean that I meet my dates downstairs? Does that mean that when I'm crying in my bedroom alone,
This
you
brings
come
me,
in and try and console
Boy,
me?
those are some really tricky waters, right?
Well, because this brings me to my question, right? So you said, do I meet my date downstairs? But what happens if at the end of a date, you're like, would you like to come upstairs, right? And your ex is sitting on the couch and you're like going into the bedroom. What happens there?
Yikes.
Oh, I've actually lived this situation.
Oh.
So
Tell us.
it wasn't a big deal because we'd already talked about what our lives were going to look like, right? So admittedly, my ex was a little bit distant for the time being. I was like, you can offer to go somewhere else. You can go visit your parents. You can go out on a date on yourself. But I'm just letting you know what I'm doing in my space, just as a heads up. And he took that rather well. He was still in his feelings a little bit afterwards. But my date, I'd let them know what was going on, and they were fine. And we had a great time rocking out to some music.
But okay, here's
Is that what you call it these days?
Yeah.
Rocking it out to some music?
She turned it up really high.
Okay, got it.
But therein lies the question. If you can go out and date people, you can break that quarantine, if you will, why are you staying quarantined with this person?
Right.
Well, that's the whole financial reason, right? Because there might be leases, as we saw in the clip in that wonderful YouTube series. You might both have your names there and not being able to find a subletter. You might not be able to find somebody who has been able to pay all the bills. People have lost jobs right now.
Yeah.
People have lost health benefits. So that cost sharing can be really effective for people who don't have the privilege or the access to those financial means right now.
I guess it's one of those things where, you know, the bottom line question is, can these situations work? And you're proof that it can work.
It absolutely can work. Again, if it's a mature breakup, right? If there's going to be some things like the breakup,
how often
where
does
people
that
are being
happen?
petty,
I was going to say, because there's some real bitter people, right?
Cutter.
Yeah.
The breakup's a
exactly.
perfect example where she comes home and she's like, you know, with her stud of a boyfriend, right, and like marches him right past,
Right.
you know, the guy
that's
on the
not going
couch.
to go over
Vince
so
Vaughn.
well.
Thank you so much for this.
Again.
This is the new age that we're all living in.
I think we learned something about Dr. Lexx. Is she knows how to maturely break up.
She knows how to rock out to some music, as they call it.
Rocking
Yes.
out. We got it.
Now.
Thank you, doctor.